This could be it right here. Samajay Preston, that is it. Russell Westbrook has passed his way into NBA history with his 42nd triple-double on the year. Move over and go.
Brings the putter back. Ball on its way toward the hole, and it's in with birdie. And Sergio Garcia has won his first major with a birdie on the first playoff hole here in the 81st Masters.
In a word, the weekend was historic.
Oh, yeah.
Hey there, welcome to SI Now. It's Monday, April 10th. I'm Maggie Gray.
And I'm Ryan Asselta.
Okay, Sergio Garcia, our adrenaline performer presented by Toyota. Let's go places. This was the easiest adrenaline performer we've ever decided on in the history of the show. Ryan, I'm going to defer to you here. You were in Augusta. You cover golf. Now that Sergio has won his first major after 74 major starts, will he start ripping off titles now? I mean, is this the Band-Aid going to be off, the floodgates going to be open?
It could happen, Maggie. He waited a long, long time. You mentioned those 74 starts. He had 22 top 10s in those starts coming into this. So talk about knocking at the door. He's 37 years old. We've seen it in golf. 37 is in the prime of their golf career. I like to compare Sergio, for what we're seeing, to a little bit of Phil Mickelson, Maggie. A lot of people don't remember Phil's a five-time major winner. He didn't win his first major until 33 years old. He then won the rest of his majors over a 9-year stretch. 5 majors in 9 years. Phil's now 46. His last major was back in 2013. So could we see that out of Sergio? I don't think we'll see it to the extent, but another major or two. Hey, he's going to be at the Masters every year for the rest of his life to play that golf course, which fits his game very well. So he could be on a little bit of a run, and his life is in order. That's the big thing. He's engaged. He's happy. This is a guy who used to clash with fans a little bit. He came to the U.S. Open in 2002 in New York and just got heckled by fans. He had a little tick in his twitch in his swing. He couldn't pull the trigger on swinging the golf club. Now his game's in order. His life, he seems very at peace. And it translates to his first major title.
And, of course, his fiancée, their family all from Texas, and Texas high school football up to college football legends, really, in the state of Texas.
Yeah.
Maybe giving them a little bit of that mental side from the gridiron. Speaking of people from Texas, Jordan Spieth, of course, former Masters champ, began Sunday just 2 shots off the lead. He ends up finishing 8 shots back, 11th place. So now for the second straight year, Jordan put a ball in the water, Ryan. It was on the 12th hole at Augusta. That is his bugaboo. Is there scar tissue from this current tournament, though, moving forward?
You know, I didn't think so going in after what happened last year. I thought he was over it. He had gone back in the winter and played the course, played that hole multiple times and birdied it. But from what we saw yesterday, I think there's some new scar tissue now. From putting the ball in the water on number 12, the second straight year on a Sunday, he does that. That's going to be in his head every time he tees it up, especially on a Sunday at Augusta. The thing about Spieth, though, he showed a lot of moxie coming back from what happened to him on Thursday. He had that quadruple bogey 9 on Thursday, and a lot of golfers could have packed it in, missed the cut on Friday, and went home. Instead, he battled back and started Sunday just 2 shots off the lead. I really expected he was going to make a run yesterday. He got off to an awful start, and it was all downhill from there.
His quotes after the tournament were incredibly positive. He said, I'm not going to hang my head at all about this tournament. I'm only going to take away what I perceive as the positives. Is that just golfer speak, or do you think that's really true?
No, that's Jordan Spieth speak, and he sees things a little differently. He has a perspective on the game and his career. He knows he's young. He knows he's going to be back there the rest of his life. He said he'll be there the next 50 years playing the Masters because he has that green jacket. So I think it helps him in a situation like this weekend. It helped him a lot last year when he melted down. Just the way he goes about his business, seeing the world, the game of golf, it's a lot different than a lot of superstar athletes. He keeps it in perspective, and I think that's going to help him get back.
Maybe the early winning takes some of the pressure off, alleviates that, as opposed to the golfers like Sergio for so long and Phil, others who are just under that intense microscope, whether it's, you know, other golfers, whether it's the media, just putting that pressure and putting them under a microscope. Now that Sergio has claimed his green jacket, who's that next golfer that we're looking to, you know, break out of their slump, so to speak, and finally win a championship?
Yeah, this is the list you don't want to be on as a golfer. The best golfer never to win a major. Sergio's been on it for quite a long time. Ricky Fowler's got to be at the top of that list now, and he's 28 years old now. He's he should be winning majors at this point. He's peaked. He won the Players' Championship, which is considered the 5th major. He won a tournament this year heading into the Masters. His game was prime. He started Sunday 1 shot back and just played terrible. And him and Spieth kind of talked about this a little bit, too, that Spieth playing poorly, he felt bad because he thinks it affected Ricky. They played together yesterday, and in golf, bad golf is kind of contagious. I find that when I play with my dad a lot. He's really bad, and I end up playing bad also.
Blame your dad. Yeah, we don't believe that for a moment.
But, yeah, Ricky's the guy who you're going to be waiting for next. When is he going to finally break through? He loves Augusta. That was the one he really wanted to win. I thought this was going to be the year for Ricky, but now the spotlight gets even brighter on him now that Sergio's off that list.
All right, we'll see how he handles that. Of course, Sergio Garcia, the latest athlete to reach their peak a little late in their career. Here's a look at a few others who were forced to wait before tasting victory.
It's official. Russell Westbrook is the NBA triple-double champ. He set the record for the most triple-doubles in a season, topping a list of legends and turning the impossible into the inevitable. But Westbrook has made it look easy, while averaging a triple-double on the year. We know the only other player to do that, the Big O, in the 1961-62 season. And Westbrook's not done yet. Russ just passed Wilt Chamberlain for the 4th most triple-doubles of all time. Don't blink, or you'll miss some work. 13 of his triple-doubles were wrapped up before the 4th quarter even began. All of those gaudy numbers. But is Russell Westbrook the NBA MVP? I mean, when Oscar Robertson set the record, he came in 3rd.
Very interesting video there. We know that the Big O, Oscar Robertson, did not win the NBA MVP when he was averaging a triple-double. Yet, in defense of those voters, they really weren't calculating triple-doubles. It's only after the fact that we've gone back to realize what an incredible season he has. We understand what Westbrook has been doing throughout this year. But, Ryan, did he wrap up the award over the weekend?
I think he did. I think he had already had it wrapped up, though James Harden would disagree with me, of course, after last night. Harden saying that voters should take wins and losses into account when voting for the MVP. I don't know about that. I think Russell Westbrook is your MVP this season. I look at a couple things. First of all, you take Russell Westbrook off of the Oklahoma City Thunder. That team's not a playoff team. They're not even close to being a playoff team. So who's the most valuable to their team? I think that's Russell Westbrook. When it comes to looking at the rest of that roster, Westbrook has 3 other players on his team that average double digits in points. James Harden has 6 other teammates that can score the basketball in double figures. So the supporting cast, a lot bigger around James Harden. Westbrook, this is historic what he's doing. I think you reward history with the MVP award.
I think James Harden almost made the point for Russell Westbrook because it's not like the Oklahoma City Thunder are looking on the outside of the playoffs and looking in. No, they are going to be, looks like, a 6th seed in the Western Conference. To me, that is an accomplishment. To make the playoffs after losing one former MVP and to keep the train going, so to speak, keep it on the rails. I think that's something that if you combine the narrative with the on-the-court and statistical achievements that Westbrook has been able to do, he's been my MVP really all year long, and I'm not going to change right now. And I think this sort of narrative in the last couple days may have helped wrap it up for him. Now, meanwhile, the Cavaliers, that's a different story. They lost back-to-back games to the Atlanta Hawks on Friday and on Sunday, including blowing a 26-point lead heading into the 4th quarter. Ryan, they lost that in overtime. Now, the Cavs still have the #1 seed in the East, but we've created a Cavs level of concern meter. Let's look at some of the photos. It's how concerned should the Cavs be? Now, here's level 1. That's no concern at all. You're raising the trophy there. That's
LeBron not looking all concerned right there.
And trolling in the Ultimate Warrior t-shirt. A level of concern, too. Things looking happy. there with Kyle.
He looks happy. Maybe a little something behind the eyes. It's kind of like,
I don't know. That looks like a genuine
Kyle?
smile.
Yeah.
Okay, number 3. All right. Well, number 3. Now we're maybe looking up at the scoreboard. Maybe we're looking at the shot clock.
That's the "Are you kidding me?" look. Like one of his teammates just turned the ball over, and he's like, "You got to be kidding me! He just did that."
It was probably J.R. Smith. This one now is level of concern. This is probably aimed at some sort of referee. Maybe again at J.R. Smith.
They had a lot to say about the referees over the weekend. Kyrie Irving held his tongue, though. He calculated the cost of what he would say about refs. Said it's not worth it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Doesn't want a $25,000 fine.
Yep.
Now, this one really is at J.R. Smith. We know this. Level of concern at an all-time high. So on a level of 1 to 5, how concerned should the Cavs be at this point?
I'd say it's a 2 at the most.
2 at the most.
2 at the most. And here's why. This team and this guy, LeBron James, they know how to flick the switch. It happens every year. LeBron, whatever his method is of leadership, he gets his teammates ready for the playoffs. Cavs, since he's been back, have never lost a first-round game. They're 8-0. He hasn't lost a first-round playoff game since 2012. That was against the Knicks and Carmelo Anthony. That's 17 straight first-round playoff wins for LeBron in Miami and Cleveland. So when it's time to come out of the long regular season, he flicks the switch, and so do his teammates.
Yeah, listen, we had Richard Jefferson on the show last week. He basically said as much, that the team can flip the switch. I would put this at a level of concern, probably 4.
4? Really?
I am. I don't think they're going to lose the first round of the playoffs, but if I'm LeBron, maybe I'm this concerned because I want to use it as a motivating tactic. Now, I think he already thought he used the motivation back at the end of March to flip the switch to April. Well, now you have coming off of this loss, and this is a bad one. I mean, against the Hawks, when you feel like you have this wrapped up, to then have to exert yourself to the level of blowing the lead and then having to play overtime, which LeBron James fouled out of. Friday's loss, I'm not going to take into account too much. They rested 4 starters, I understand it. Sunday's loss, I'm a level 4 concern. Now, here's a bit of a conspiracy theory for you, right? I'm curious whether it might be more beneficial to the Cavs to actually be the 2 seed. Stay with me, because then they would play the 7th seed in the first round. That would be Indiana. They're 3-1 against the Pacers. Meanwhile, against the teams that could have the 8th seed, who they'd match up with first in the first round, they're 0-4 against the Bulls, and they're 1-2 against Miami.
I see where you're going with those numbers, and they support what you're saying. But when I go back to that first round, there's no way they're losing a first-round series. So then when I dig a little bit deeper here and look at the teams they may face round 2 or the conference finals, the top teams in the East. You got the Celtics, you got the Wizards, you got the Raptors. Cavs are 8-2 against them this season. The upper echelon of that conference, the Cavs have done fairly well. I think that sets up for a nice run. And I also think it supports the idea that matchups are everything in the NBA playoffs, and they match up well with the better team.
Yeah, that's true. I do not see them losing the first round, but I can see perhaps losing the first game of the first round. Maybe even. What
will the concern meter? It'll go through the roof if they lose that first game in the first round, right?
It's going to be LeBron James with smoke coming out of his ears. Will be the concern meter. But right now, yes, I'm putting it as a 4. Ryan, you're not sweating it too much.
I'm going like 1.5 at this point.
Oh,
yeah, Maggie.
Hi Lou is going to be happy about that.
All right. Well, the first week of the baseball season is in the books, as the great broadcaster Howie Rhodes would say. It's in the books, Maggie.
Put it in the books.
Plenty of storylines are in the infancy stages. Here are a couple big things we're looking at as the season starts to take shape, both good and bad.
13 years ago, college basketball was rocked by the mysterious death of Baylor basketball star Patrick Dennehy. A new documentary from Showtime looks back at the case and includes an in-depth interview with then head coach Dave Bliss. It's the coach's first extended comments since Dennehy was murdered. The film is called Disgraced, and I spoke with the film's director, Pat Kondelis, recently. Patrick, the murder of Baylor basketball player Patrick Dennehy is one of the most tragic stories in sports. Can you refresh the audience on what made this case just so bizarre?
Yeah, I think it really is when Patrick Dennehy went missing in the summer of 2003, all of these rumors started swirling about teammates of his threatening him, allegations of guns, drugs, all this crazy stuff that was going on at the world's largest Baptist university. You wouldn't think that, Baylor University would have issues of guns and drugs and these type of allegations that were coming out. So it's a bizarre story. And then once you get toward, Patrick being murdered, it gets even crazier because of the attempted cover-up that ensues.
Dave Bliss, the head coach at Baylor, was a big part of that attempted cover-up. He was completely disgraced at the time. You got him to talk on camera about the case, and he does take responsibility for some of his role in this tragedy, but Patrick, he appears to still be untruthful about some of the crucial facts of the case. What was most surprising to you about talking with Dave Bliss?
Dave sees himself as the victim. And he almost kind of oddly blames Patrick Dennehy for the predicament that he is put in. At every turn, Dave makes statements that leads me to believe he really does see himself as the victim here, and that he didn't really do anything wrong. Cheating comes to no surprise that, huge D1 schools, there's cheating that goes on. They pay players, they skirt the rules, they operate in a gray area. And I think that's where Dave is coming from when he says some of this stuff. Like, look, you think I'm the only person that's done something wrong here? But it's insane when you consider the context of what's happening in the story and how far he really went to save himself. But there's no doubt in my mind Dave sees himself as a victim.
The Baylor connection in the Waco area runs extremely deep. But can you explain how that connection may have played a part in the legal side of the murder trial, and then how it may come up again in this Baylor football scandal where now over 50 women are accusing Baylor football players of sexual assault?
Yeah, I think that was the most surprising thing for us doing the documentary was realizing what was going on in the legal defense of Carlton Dotson, or the lack of legal defense for Carlton Dotson. He had two court-appointed attorneys, both of whom were Baylor grads. The judge is a Baylor grad. And you can even see in one shot of the film where Carlton is standing in the courtroom, the picture right behind him over his shoulder is a picture of Baylor University. So he was surrounded by people that literally had Baylor as seemed to be a primary interest. And it was not the defense of Carlton Dotson. And I think if you look at what happened with the case, you got to ask yourself, who does it benefit? By this not going to trial, who benefits most? It's certainly not Carlton, who seemed to have a rock-solid defense here, but it's Baylor that benefited by this not going to trial. So it's, for us, it was like, okay, we can really see that the hand of Baylor touches every corner of Waco here.
Meanwhile, Carlton Dotson is in jail right now. He's eligible for parole, I believe, in the year 2021. Is that right?
Right. Yeah.
There's a final line of the film. It implies that a scandal is like cancer. If you don't remove it all, it will grow back. How does that line apply to Baylor?
So what's interesting about that is, we started making this film 2 years ago. So the sexual assault scandal had not happened when we were, deep into filming. And Grady Irvin, who was Carlton Dotson's initial defense attorney, knows more about college athletics than just about anybody, because his primary set of clients are college athletes. So he was speaking from a point of, you can't blame this all on Carlton when there's greater issues in these institutional programs. If you're not transparent, if you don't purge it out, it's going to keep happening. If people aren't going to take responsibility, they're not going to go on camera and talk about it, they're not going to answer questions, then you're never going to get past this. And it's kind of a very dark foreshadowing of what's going on right now, with the sexual assault scandal, which we didn't get into at all because, that's for a completely separate film to go into. We didn't want to tack on something as serious as, sexual violence just to kind of do a I told you so at the end.
What can we learn from the scandal at Baylor? I mean, you see Patrick Dennehy's family. This is something they still live with every single day. What should we take away from this?
I think, you got to look at this and say, you ask yourself, how does this happen? And then how does it take 14 years for this information to really get out? This is something that came and went very quickly, but I think it is kind of a cautionary tale of, winning as being paramount, and Baylor University is the world's largest Baptist university. They've had very conservative rules, but that does not apply to the athletic program. And when you're in the Big 12, you have huge donors. There's hundreds of millions of dollars tied into these television contracts and all of this stuff. It's all comes down to a desire to win. And I think that you learn through this film that time and time again, the choice is made not to do the right thing necessarily, but to save a program or to keep that revenue coming in. And I think you can see that, something like this can happen. And once it happens once, there's nothing to stop it from happening again.
By far one of the most extreme examples that we've ever seen in college athletics. But it's a remarkable documentary. It's called Disgraced. You can watch it now on Showtime On Demand. Patrick Kondelis, the director of the film, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Just a tragic story, but an update for you. After the airing of the film, Dave Bliss resigned as the head coach of Southwest Christian University. It was a job he had held since 2015.
All right, Maggie, let's switch gears. The NFL draft just a couple weeks away, and at least 7 Alabama football players are expected to be taken in the first 2 rounds of this month's draft. Now, one of them is linebacker Ryan Anderson, who spoke with Jordan Schultz a couple days ago about his NFL dreams, playing angry, and a whole lot more.
Joined by Ryan Anderson, former Alabama stud, Alabama linebacker. Ryan, thanks so much for coming on. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, man.
Of course. So listen, we're 1 month away, less than 1 month away from the draft. How ready are you for just football stuff? Get done with the pre-draft process, go hit somebody, actually get back to the game in between the lines itself.
Man, I'm so ready for all these, workouts and stuff to be over with. Like you said, just get back to football, man.
We were talking before about how you're doing things differently now, maybe eating differently, working out differently. Give me a sense of how that's happened for you and the transitional process of starting to worry about these things more.
Being out on my own, it's a lot different. I got to watch what I eat, so, I switched over to eating organic food. There's this place out of Birmingham called Swole Food. They make all my meals.
That's great.
So I've been eating, strictly like just organic food, watching what I eat. Workouts changed up a lot. Coach Lyle Henley, he changed up my workouts a lot. So, it's just about more stuff to make me more durable, you know what I mean, and powerful, and not just banging a lot of weight, throwing a lot of weight around, just the stuff that's keep me fine and tuned so I can be, durable in the long run.
Okay, got you. So, all right, let's fast forward a little bit. What type of situation for you, Ryan, would be ideal? 3-4, 4-3, obviously you're a versatile guy, you can play outside. Is there a situation for you look at and you say, I would really like to be in this type of scheme or this type of coaching staff?
Yeah, they kind of let me line up, strike somebody, then tackle them and hold the ball. It don't matter to me.
It don't matter. So, because, if as a football fan, and I'm a big one, I've listened to what guys have said about you, your teammates, Mika Fitzpatrick, and they say, this guy, man, he wants to get after you. I think he said one time, he said, you're the most hateful player on the Alabama defense. And he said it in a nice way. You've been quoted as saying, everybody that lines up across from us, we hate you. We are going to try to kill you. To succeed as a football player, obviously, Ryan, you got to have that killer mentality. So when you think about that, what separates you from the other football players and your mentality, towards the game?
I just feel like, I have a real passion for the game, man. There's no made up stuff, I'm not a guy that got to play a whole lot of music to hype me up before a game. I'm not that kind of player, you know what I mean?
You're ready.
It's natural. You know, I'm ready to play. I probably practice harder than I play, for the most part. You know, I'm big on practicing hard. You know what I mean? I believe you get out of it what you put in it. So I'm a firm believer in that.
It's interesting to me with, you know, you think about the workout warriors, guys that have great combines. And I know you said that it's frustrating at times when you see guys that, or for you, when you just want to play football and maybe you didn't have the, you know, the best 40, or, you know, it's not as important. And then I wonder for you if it's frustrating when you see guys that are workout warriors, Ryan, and they might be slated ahead of you in mocks, even if your production at Alabama was greater. How do you deal with that?
You know, I don't have a problem with guys that's workout warriors. You know what I mean? Some guys like that. You know what I mean? It's just some natural freaks out there right now. But, you know, it's not many guys that translate that either.
Right.
You know, if you got guys that jump in the 40, broad jumping 13 inches, 13 feet or whatever, and then my stats are better than theirs, what does that say?
Right.
I'm an overachiever, they underachieving. You know, I mean, you can paint it pink and call it blue all you want, man. It is what it is. I'm a football player at the end of the day.
Yeah. We have to ask you, obviously, about the Deshaun Watson situation at the bar. You know, for those who don't know, there's been a lot of different talk about it. I know that it's been said that you actually tried to help pay the bill, but he left the bar. What exactly happened?
My cousin offered, you know, he asked the manager of the bar, you know, if they didn't pay yet, you know, he would have took care of the bill. But that was like, the way people making it out the bill wasn't like that.
Right.
I didn't tell him to leave. I simply said, man, it ain't smart to be here.
Interesting.
You know, it's not smart for you to be here right now. You know what I mean? I didn't tell him to leave. I just let him know that. That was it. That was the only words I said to him.
Specifically because also it was in Tuscaloosa, where not the best place for him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just wasn't. I was looking out for him at the end of the day. You know, I talked to him, you know, that Saturday or whatever. So, you know, me and him talked, and he understood where I was coming from, and you know, we cool, man. It ain't nothing like that.
Being in Alabama and under that microscope, you feel like it's helped prepare you for the NFL, because in many ways, Alabama, the pressures are just as big or more.
Yeah, we held to a standard there. You know, things done a certain way, going to be done a certain way there. And if you don't do it, you're not going to play. You know what I mean? That's why, you know, we have so many good players. You know, each year, in and out, there's so many good players coming in. And you just got to be on your P's and Q's every day, man. You know what I'm saying? It's another 5-star right there, you know, just as good as you, if not better, that can step in and it'll be no drop-off. So you got to really know what you're doing, know your assignment, and you got to play the Bama way.
There's so many great Alabama players coming in this year, and really every year. I wonder for you, is there one guy from your class, from this class, that you look at and you say, and it can't be yourself, or maybe it can actually, I'll make it fun, it can be you, that's going to have the most instant impact? Who out of Alabama players? You can say yourself if you feel it.
Maybe Reuben.
Reuben Foster.
Yeah, I feel like he's going to go into a team and he really changed the whole defense around, the whole organization. You know, just the way he played and his mentality. You know, a lot of people feed off that.
Well, Ryan, we appreciate it. Wish you best of luck in the draft and many successes to come. So thanks so much for joining SI Live.
Man. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate it.
Thanks to Jordan and Ryan there. Draft only 17 days away now.
Yeah, and no shortage of talent coming out of Bama.
Yeah, no, Reuben Foster. I agree with him. I think he's going to be the best, too.
All right, that's going to do it for this Monday potpourri edition of SI Now. Man, we hit it all, Maggie. Golf, baseball, basketball, football, and a little college hoops documentary in there.
We cover a lot of ground here.
Today,
You know, it's a variety show. Of course, we'll be back tomorrow with a whole new host of topics at 10:30 a.m. Eastern. But until then, keep it locked to SI.com for all the latest news. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter at SI Now Live. Who knows what we're going to talk about on Tuesday? You'll have to tune in. We'll see you then. Bye, y'all.